We live in unprecedented times. It's the fourth industrial revolution, sixth mass extinction, climate crises, and we've just come through a global pandemic. We've come together interested in what we can do in response to some of these challenges.
So researchers in the Centre for Regenerating Futures are working from their disciplinary expertise collaboratively with each other to explore what these issues involve and how they impact us.
The Centre has a number of researchers from across a range of discipline areas. We've got people from creative arts, the sciences, from education and across the humanities.
As a practising artist, art educator and someone interested in working in the area of arts wellbeing, I head up a strand in that centre called Art, Activism and the Anthropocene. So it's looking at the way artists are activists in their own right, often in the area of climate change, political issues.
One of the interests of the Centre is in young people and their futures, and futures understood in terms of the climate crisis and challenges that young people face. So I make a contribution through a focus on education and interest, primary interest in young people.
The area where I am getting deeply engaged in research that links in with Centre for Regenerating Futures is being in blue space, places for learning in the early years. Blue space refers to spaces that humans interact with that include creeks, beaches, ocean, wetlands.
What with climate change and complex futures that science speaks to, I've been in the business of advocating curriculum reform. And so a lot of my work now is around climate change education and science education, the role of science in that, but to take a critical perspective on the science and working with teachers and students to do that.
Our centre focuses on pulling academics together that maybe don't usually work together. And this creates an opportunity to explore issues such as climate change through a transdisciplinary perspective.
And they all bring their particular focus and expertise, which means that we've got lots of different perspectives and input into the challenges that we face.
So we think about what does it mean to consider climate change from an education perspective, but also from perhaps an environmental ethics perspective or a policies perspective. And how can we then broaden out our work around those aspects to work with our communities, to think about ways that our society might need to change and adapt.
So the Centre is, I think, an important gathering of researchers across Deakin University, both within the School of Education and beyond. And I think it's an important opportunity for us to really rethink and re-engage with education. Part of my research is exploring the neo-colonial impacts of colonisation on Australia and the neo-colonial structures and systems that have informed how education is practiced and experienced across the last 2 and a bit centuries.
My research focuses on First Nations knowledges and gender studies and activism. It relates to CRF because it looks at how and why we can decolonise curriculum and the study of Indigenous peoples, histories, cultures, and how we can embed them into how we practice and address things like climate change.
We're in one of the strands in the centre looking at decolonising literacy education or just education and decolonising of settler colonialism.
And that's something that we've done through a lot of our research projects that we've worked on and as well as the teaching that we do.
When we look at challenges like climate change, one of the things that I think is significant is that people have become a bit disconnected from nature and from country. And so our way of working is to get closely connected to country again. And we've got wonderful First Nations colleagues that are helping us to do that. And our on-country events are about getting out there and being present in person in nature.
So we're currently on Wurundjeri country. We're in the Dandenong Ranges. This country has been inhabited by people here for forever, for tens of thousands of years. And so part of being here in this place is paying my respects to country and to the traditional owners and to the elders. For this moment, this is just my part of the dreaming and I'm just a custodian and it's up to me to pass that on in a better condition than I got it for the next generations.
It's just wonderful to get out there together and to be in community. It's not the sort of research that a lot of institutions do. We're actually doing things differently, and that's what I really love about the Centre.
We're really appreciative of the Faculty of Arts and Education at Deakin University for recognising not only the opportunity but the need for something as unusual, And out of left field, as the Centre for Regenerating Futures,
Deakin University's really backed us as a centre. They've provided the resources so that we can come together as a collective of people to work on some of these big challenges of our times.
I think the Regenerative Futures group allows us to engage with some blue sky thinking and think about where we might be able to take education to and how that might benefit future generations. But at the same token, it allows us to look back as well and think about First Nations education contexts and how we can gain value through engaging with them in appropriate and supportive ways.
Deakin has been able to give us a space to try and do things differently within the Centre for Regenerating Futures, taking a completely different approach to how research is done, how we do the business of research, how we relate to each other.
Deakin set in motion the process for being able to set up the group, and so that in itself brings together a whole lot of people who start talking together. Deakin has opened up that possibility. I think has been enriching for quite a few people.
The challenges that we're facing are really big ones, and I think people are coming together because there's a really strong feeling of needing to do something.
We're very excited about our potential. We have some incredible members in our centre, including our PhD colleagues, and we are working on some really important initiatives.
We're dealing with some pretty big problems and there's no simple solution. But the fact that we've got a team that's interdisciplinary, all moving together in the same direction, I think is really hopeful.